Tenet is written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It is his latest release, and is, I believe, the first major studio-backed blockbuster to be released post-pandemic. The film did really well in the territories that it was released, and it'll be really interesting to see how it does on its North American release. I saw it Sunday morning in a pretty packed house. Everybody was wearing their masks, and I think it'll be a pretty decent indication of the health of movie theaters, at least in terms of whether or not people want to see big releases on the big screen. So Christopher Nolan is kind of one of the poster child for the film bro directors that are out there, namely if you are a 20-something male that is, getting into filmmaking or into cinema. He's like one of those directors that really, that sort of population that can be kind of insufferable on social media will tend to gravitate towards, along with people like Denis Villeneuve, Quentin Tarantino, David Fincher, of course. He's basically the kind of director that gets talked about a lot in dormitories and in frat houses. But in fairness, I don't think he's the greatest director out there, but I do really admire what he does. There are films from him that I really enjoy, that I find a lot of qualities in, and I kind of like what he stands for. I love that he's a champion of the analog format and of doing as many things in an old school way as possible, even if that is maybe a little gimmicky at times. I think that makes him a better filmmaker, and the film community is a better place for having people like that within it. However, one of the films from him that I really don't enjoy at all, and is one of his most popular films, is actually Inception. I think that Inception has some interesting action set pieces, but has far too much exposition that's actually delivered in a very clunky way, especially if you watch the film multiple times, and in terms of the actual human emotional core is pretty insufferable. And the problem with Tenet is that it's a lot more like Inception than, let's say, like Dunkirk, his previous film. So if Inception is a heist film with a sci-fi time gimmick, Tenet is basically Nolan's attempt at a James Bond or a Mission Impossible style action film with a sci-fi / time gimmick. And my main problem with that is the idea of seeing a James Bond film or a Mission Impossible film directed by Chris Nolan is actually really appealing. It's just that the gimmick serves absolutely no purpose to the story. The time travel / reverse time gimmick that's developed for the story is essentially the big end-of-the-world type weapon. So in a James Bond film or in a Mission Impossible film, it would be, a nuclear bomb. It would be something that's going to blow up and damage a major metropolitan area. But in this, the time mechanic is a machine that is the threat. So in essence, within the way the story is constructed, within the way the world is created, the actual mechanic of the film is its MacGuffin, and that means that it's basically pointless. It is a plot point that exists to serve the action and to serve the movie forward, but it really doesn't inform anything about the characters, about the world, and so as a result, the film just feels like very dumb and loud. And while it can make for the odd, interesting visual cue, it actually makes everything feel kind of muddled and at times unintentionally funny. I mean, I find all of the sequences where people are walking in reverse or people are shooting and the bullets are going back into the clip to be really kind of hilarious, and I don't think that's the point. So I really liked Dunkirk. I think that with that film, Nolan had stripped down his filmmaking to the bare essential and delivered something that was extraordinarily potent and simple. And yes, there's kind of a little bit of a time manipulation, time gimmick at the core of that film. However, I felt that it served the story beautifully because it allowed him to intercut different levels of the Dunkirk battle within the same space. And that's kind of genius because at its core, filmmaking, particularly in the edit, is the power to manipulate time. You can slow it down, you can accelerate it, and you can cut, just like that, millions of years from the dawn of man to a spaceship in 2001. But unfortunately with Tenet, Nolan kind of takes everything that he had stripped out of Dunkirk and everything that I really liked about that film and put it back into Tenet to make it this overly long, loud, obnoxious, muddled, very dull mess of a film. And yes, I can appreciate some moments of the first half of the film, particularly there is a set piece at an airport, which is, well put together. And I have to say, if the film does one thing right, it is its casting. I could watch John David Washington and Robert Pattinson fight crime together for hours and hours, but unfortunately it's in service of a script that's absolutely impenetrably dumb, and towards the back half of the film, the exposition gets very heavy, obnoxious, and some of the dialogue, especially pertaining to like a more philosophical outlook on life, is outright stupid. I mean, it feels like it was written by a 14-year-old. And that's really unfortunate because, like I said, I have a lot of respect for what Nolan has done, and I can really appreciate a film like Interstellar that, is kind of messy and corny at times, but I feel is very sincere and, really well put together. And I'm barely scratching the surface of the issues that plague this film, whether it's the actual reason for people from the future attacking the past, which is kind of thrown out there in some of the last sequences of the film, and could maybe have been something interesting to explore. I'd be really interested in talking about that with people once they've seen the film, but it's really just thrown out there, and the subplot of the female character sort of emancipating herself from a violent husband is, I would say, clunky at best if I want to be charitable, and downright awful if I don't feel charitable. Unfortunately, it's a huge misfire for me, and I'd be interested in seeing what he does next. So as always, thanks very much for watching the video. Please be sure to hit the like button if you like the review, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, see ya.